Do you want to make your own podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And this is the platform that I use because it makes it so simple to record and distribute your podcast all in one place using your cell phone. What you need to do is download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hello, my name is Catherine Moore, social worker, mom, coffee lover, and founder of Social Workers Rise, where we inspire social workers to connect, expand their knowledge, and change more lives than they ever thought possible. I'm so excited you found my podcast. We will talk everything social work on every level from micro to macro. We will hear the stories of social workers who are doing big things, learn new skills, and most importantly, give you actionable steps to make a difference today. Let's go. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Social Workers Rise. Before we hop into this week's episode, I wanted to take a moment to show my appreciation and my gratitude for one of the reviews that was left. This is on iTunes and it comes from, there's no name, but it comes from mmail6950. And it's titled Great Podcast, 5 stars. She uses this platform to help therapists. Give this a listen. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. And by rating us in the iTunes podcast, this just helps us with the algorithm and to show up a little bit higher in the search results. And it helps other social workers just like you find us and join our community. So with that, we're going to hop into this week's episode and be sure to stay until the end because I do have a special announcement and updates on what I have been up to and what I will be doing this summer. So be sure to stay and take a listen. For now, let's hop in the episode. Good morning, Leslie. How are you?
Hi, Catherine. Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Social Workers Rise. I'm excited to be able to talk to you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me back.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this or if I've told you, but your episode that we did on vicarious trauma is the number 2 top episode of the season.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. How exciting. I'm glad that I've actually received some messages about it too, and people reaching out saying it really spoke to them. And so it's really exciting to be able to connect with other social workers, and other professionals in the field. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it just speaks volumes about where we are in the social work field, which I know you understand. We've been talking about this for a long time, that with the vicarious trauma, it's really hard. And I know that you talked a lot about your experience with just not feeling supported in the workplace. And I feel like a lot of people can relate. I know that I can relate, and I've just spoken to so many other social workers who feel that the job that they do is so very, very stressful, and it's just chronically stressful.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
No. I completely agree. I think that honestly, like hospitals and community mental health agencies, I think are really, really high stressful jobs. And it's really tough on social workers as well as supervisors. I think that a lot of the times, social workers had experiences where they think, it's us versus them sometimes, leadership versus the social workers. And honestly, in those settings, they're really going based on their own supervisors, right? Regional directors and things like that. And I think that it kind of it, they become a little jaded in terms of like the stress that they're being put, kind of just they're projecting it onto their workers, the social workers. And I think that a lot of the times they've also lost track of their own path in terms of the reasons why they went into the work. And it's just the amount of pressure to meet certain standards, to meet quota, to meet documentation and things like that. I think that stress it's kind of a ripple effect. It kind of trickles down to the social workers, and we're the ones that are in the field and in the trenches, you could say. And I think that that's what the result is that this lack of support, this lack of being valued and being validated for the work that we're doing. And so it's a big thing. And I think that right now more than ever, given the current political climate and everything that's going on, I think it's so important to support each other and just be there for one another, to be able to process, to be able to validate, just to be able to say and recognize, I know your job is stressful and it's going to get even more stressful in the upcoming months and years. And so because we just really don't know what's the future now. And so I think it's really, really important to develop these communities for one another, and just kind of empower and uplift each other. That's really all we can do, and just be there for one another.
For sure. But I think we do know. I mean, I feel like I have a really good inkling of where we're going. It's so fascinating because right now we're at a turning point, not only in America's culture, but also with social work too. Because so before this, and I went on this gigantic rant, I was on my soapbox in like one of the first episodes about how the field of social work has become complacent with burnout as the standard,
Mm-hmm.
as oh yeah, it's normal to not feel supported, it's normal, yeah, apparently it's normal for vicarious trauma, for burnout, and we've, as the industry, they acknowledge that it's very, very hard, but there's not a lot of support available for us, and I'm not okay. Couldn't sit back any longer and not do anything. So I
Exactly.
wanted to, just start something for more support for this there, because we have already been stressed out and we have already been burnt out. And with this new changing climate where are in the spotlight, I just saw today that the president of NASW is going to be talking on MSNBC about social work and police. So we really have the national spotlight, and we can't keep going like this, Leslie. It's just too much. We can't keep going. And there needs to be a massive, massive shift in the culture of social work, which I'm
Yes.
hoping to start, with us, and to join hands with other people who are out there, like you and me, who are also doing this work and reaching out to fellow social workers and to new social workers and say, hey, it's okay. We've been there. Let me help you.
Yes, definitely. No, I completely agree. We can't let this opportunity pass with, like how you said, the national spotlight. And so what we can do at our level, it starts now, right? Empowering and just being there for social workers to say, no, we can speak up and we can change the standards. Exactly.
Yes, because we have been trained on advocacy and really taking a stand in our ethics. However,
Exactly.
we just don't do it for ourselves, and that frustrates
Exactly.
me beyond. belief that we continue to downplay our importance, or maybe we've never even been taught about how to communicate what we do, because so many times I've seen social workers just say, "Oh, well, I'll do what I can." Like, no, you're not going to just do what you can. You need to be able to speak to your experience and have that show in your notes and your documentation that you are doing therapeutic interventions that have been proven, they're research based,
Mm-hmm.
that this that you know what you're talking about, that even if you are visiting in hospice for therapeutic presence and emotional support, we know in grief that that is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
That is what matters. If they don't say a word, but you are there, that is what matters. And that is your intervention. But it's hard to communicate that to other people. And then how does that show in our value and our worth? And then, that translates to our salary too.
Exactly.
And
No,
in the business world, sorry, I'm on my soapbox again. In the business world, our salary is what shows our value and our worth, because people say, "Oh, well, a social worker can get hired for 50,000 with a master's. What are they going to do?" But if we
mm-hmm.
change that and say, "No, we're providing therapeutic interventions to help your customers or your clients cope better, to have less customer complaints, to have a more happy and satisfied customer base." I mean, that's just using it for business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that translates into like thousands or millions of dollars depending on the company. And so our value and our worth is there. And I feel like we just need to have confidence in ourselves and be able to communicate that, and also have the tools to really do that, to show the results. I don't know.
Exactly. I
My
think
soapbox.
that no, 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 you're spot on. You really are spot on. I think the most important thing, I think the first step would be social work title protection. The fact that we don't have title protection just kind of speaks to, like, they, in a sense, don't really know what we do,
Mm-hmm.
that they don't feel that we have authority to our title. The fact that so many individuals call themselves social workers, that are not, it just speaks to what they think that we do. And so a really important thing would be to start there, right? Because, and I think secondly, having that would really help in terms of the financial state that social workers are put in terms of, we don't have enough funding for the programs that we work for, and in the community, the impact that we're making, because they don't see it beneficial. And I think that you were spot on with all of that. The fact that, the government and all of these agencies that really do put a budget in terms of community outreach, and just like mental health profession in general, is just not, it's really minimized a lot. And then I think that right now we do have the platform to really speak volumes in terms of how important mental health is, how community mental health and support and resources could benefit immensely, with the right funding. If we had enough resources for ourselves to be able to help the community, to put more social workers in the schools, to decrease that school to prison pipeline. Like, it's just so many things, that we can replace, and really be put in these situations where we can make a difference, if we just have the right people listening and the right people funding us. And it really just starts with title protection. And so I agree that I think that we can't let this opportunity pass, and that I think that now people are seeing how important social workers are in the field. And, I just want to go from there, and just really help social workers know that, and be able to support them and say, no, we are a value, and we're here.
Yes, yes. And I know that there are some states with title protection, and I am a big supporter of title protection, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that might look like. It's important that we are able to standardize and hold each other accountable, and just know, like, oh, you have your LCSW, that means that you can do therapy, you can do interventions, you can do, whatever it is, X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of different opinions on what that looks like, because macro social workers right now don't necessarily need a license.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I feel like the licensing and the qualifications is a whole nother podcast that we're not going to get into right now. But
Definitely.
but just to have that standard scope, because right now, since our profession is being looked at so closely, all of these, and of course the media is going to focus on all of the failed cases, all of the
Exactly.
ones that have come out. And in the comment, I probably shouldn't have read the comments of in the Facebook, like, about articles from the general population, but they were just so awful.
I try to stay, I really try to stay away and just be there for individuals that are really asking for support. Because, yes, it's exactly how you said. I think that right now I've seen a lot of even just divide within social workers, personally, that colleagues of mine have been affected by. And so it's so disheartening, especially right now, seeing that in our community. And it's this divide, and it shouldn't be that way. And I'm really empathize with those individuals that are struggling to defend the social work career and degree and their profession. And so again, it's very heartbreaking to see, as well within our social work community, kind of be divided and just against each other. And that's not what our values are about, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's part of our code of ethics. It's in our own ethical principles, and so I think a lot of, social workers cannot be silent. And I really, really, is heartbreaking to see that divide. And I'm sure the current environment is just making people question their own values, but it shouldn't be that way. We all came into the profession to help, and it's really having to look internally in terms of, like, am I in the right field? Am I doing the right thing? What was the reasons that I came into social work, and really just analyze that for themselves and have the self-awareness. So I think that my heart is with those individuals and those social workers that are struggling because they feel so isolated,
Mm-hmm.
for speaking up for social injustice or whatever the case might be, or for their own mental health and health. I know a lot of social workers in the field are essential in the hospitals, and the individuals that are still seeing patients and then not having the support of leadership and their organization to protect them. So I feel for all the social workers right now having to, in this unprecedented time, having to go, kind of like go as you go, and so I really feel for them, and I just want to be able to be there for support and just emotional validation.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. Yeah. I heard from one person, she said that she felt isolated in her work because she felt that the other social workers were not acting ethically, that they
Mm-hmm.
were not just really understanding the social justice aspect of the Black Lives Matter movement, and that she felt that she, couldn't speak up. And so I'm hopeful and optimistic that here with Social Workers Rise, we can begin to create a community where people do feel supported, that we are acting in an ethical way. Because even though right now we're focusing on new social workers who want to go the clinical route, it's all connected, right? We're all within the system. So therapy, it does have a part in macro social work and
Mm-hmm.
connected. So it's just so hard. It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard right now. And it really pains me that we do have such a lack of support. But I am, again, optimistic, and it is my goal and my mission to change that. If even for one social worker that they are able to feel supported through this community, then it's been accomplished.
Yes, I completely agree. It's it's a lot like the starfish story that we're told when in school in social work, and I think that yeah, if we can help one social worker through my podcast, through talking to them, through a message, through a training, whatever the case might be, I think that we had succeeded. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. And this work is it's never going to be done. I realize that this endeavor that I've created, it's never going to be done, and that is okay with me because I feel like this is my calling, that this is my mission. I just love social work so much. I love social workers. They are literally the nicest, kindest, most empathetic people I've ever met in my life. And at the same time, they are also oftentimes not confident in themselves. They're not sure of themselves. They don't know how to communicate their skills. And just with burnout, that makes us like burnout has those that impact on us. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, when in my work, I did a whole training on coping through crisis and recognizing the signs of burnout. So now I am able to understand and say, "Oh, right when I start to feel like is this working? Am I even doing this right? Am I making a difference? Does this all matter?" That right there is a red flag
Mm-hmm.
because it does matter. It's just that the amount of workload that we have sometimes, and like you said, the amount of starfish on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
If we start to lose focus on this one person or this one case and how can I help this one, because our boss says we must throw what? Let me see. We must throw 60 starfish in the ocean this week and document and chart and go to all these meetings just to prove that we are doing.
Exactly, exactly.
And at the end of the day, it's like, WTF.
Exactly. Spot on. You lose track of the path that you were on, but it's, I hope that, the work that you and I are going to be doing helps individuals have that self-awareness and get back on track.
For sure, for sure. And so that's why I'm so excited because I feel like this is really our first step in going forward and offering support to people. So you have graciously collaborated with me on creating the therapist the essentials for future therapists.
Mhm.
And this is a 5-course virtual series that is going to be offered at the open date. Oh gosh, I lost my calendar, but the open date is going to be June 29th. That's a Monday.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have a calendar, but for the VIP list. So basically, I wanted to just talk about why we're doing it and who it's going to help and kind of where this idea came from. So, this idea came from us, this whole conversation about
Yes.
needing to support people. And I was talking to you about this, and you were like, "Hey, I'd love to help." I was like,
Yes.
"Yes, awesome."
Yes, my experience wasn't the greatest, postgraduate school, and so I really would not want to, a lot of the times when I was just having conversations with fellow social workers, it's like exactly what you said is very normalized, very, yeah, that's typical, and it's like, yeah, oh yeah, you just got to go through the trenches. Yeah, that seems pretty accurate. And I said, no, we shouldn't. I mean, yes, I thank you for normalizing, but no, why is this okay?
Yeah,
Why is this
it's
okay? And I just wanted to know, no, if I can help a social worker out of grad school or a new professional going into a clinical setting, help them at least a little bit of handholding, a little bit of support to just say, hey, this is what you're going to experience. This is possibly what you're going to go through. Let me help you. Let me tell you what I did um, for this so that you don't have to go through what I went through and feel unsupported and feel that you're constantly sinking, it's that sink or swim mentality is just not okay. And like, why can't we just,
I understand.
oops, why can't we, thanks, Siri.
Siri doesn't get it either.
Yeah. And so it's just not okay. And I think that why can't we just float with support of one another? Why do we have to sink or swim? And so I'm so passionate about this project, and I'm really passionate about helping colleagues and helping fellow social workers and professionals in the field. And that's why I said, like, I wanted to collaborate with you and really, really do the work so that, other social workers don't feel how I felt. That's not something that I wish on anybody. And if I can help, I'm super passionate. So I also wanted to make sure that I wanted to provide just so much information in training. So I have to make sure that okay, this is the important stuff. Don't go based on emotion. That's what I have to check with myself. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's something that I have to check with myself and have that awareness, because I have vicarious trauma. I went through that. And so, imposter syndrome is very real. Vicarious trauma is very real. And so my experience postgraduate school really was something that I'm still processing. And so I have to make sure that I'm stay, in that trainer mindset when I'm having these trainings. And I'm just so excited.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know. I'm excited too, because having friends in different fields and lines of work, it is not normal to feel burnt out and stressed and exhausted every single day, every single week in your job. Like, that is just not normal. Most people go to their work, they're happy, functioning people.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, maybe not the majority of people, because then we get into the whole like, well, Americans are depressed argument. But it's not normal to have vicarious trauma at work. It's not normal to not feel supported. It's not normal to not have the resources that you need to effectively do your job. And so all of these things combined, I definitely do contribute to that imposter syndrome that you were talking about, which I don't know if you're not familiar with imposter syndrome, it's essentially feeling like where you are or what you're trying to do is let's see. I need the definition, but can you pull it? Are you near a computer to pull up the definition?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
You want the specific definition?
Yeah, because I feel like that would really sum up kind of what I'm trying to say. So, basically, like, if
I have it right here. It's the psychological pattern in which one doubts one's accomplishments and has persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, despite external evidence of their competence. Yes. That's a pretty good sum up. That's exactly how I felt, having just like my own, everyone's journey is different. And then I speak a little bit about that in our episode in the podcast about being an immigrant, being like all of the barriers that I faced to be where I am today. That really played a lot to my imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not supposed to be accomplished with a master's because of my suffering, right? Of everything that I went through in my life. Like, it just started to internalize, like, no, I'm a fraud. I'm not supposed to be here. And then as soon as I trust me, as soon as you start working with the patients, it all kind of just falls into place and it just starts clicking. And when you get the validation, more than anything, when you get those validations from the patients, like, you helped me so much, you saved my life, it all kind of goes away, where you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be here.
Yes, I totally agree. When I got my LCSW, I stayed at the same job with hospice for like 4 years, partly because I thought, well, I really can't do anything else. I don't know anything else, so I'm just going to stay here. I love the work, but that was part of it. And then I moved on to a new job because they were not able to pay me what I needed for my license. And so with my new job, I did get a pay raise, but at the same time, I was like, oh, who am I to be providing clinical therapy to these people? But I found that, yes, I had my tools. I did reach out for more information. I did more trainings. I got in there with the clients. And with all of these tools and additional support, I was able to really feel like I belonged, like I was there, like I could communicate effectively and document effectively my worth and my value for why I'm needed on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, with so many budget cuts and people are always looking to downsize and decrease our pay, you have to be able to show and document that the services are needed. And I
Mm-hmm.
know we talk a lot about that in the first module of the course, that just being able to show what you're doing, validate that the services are needed for the client, being able to document your care plan, being able to do a complete assessment of everything, just showing that the client does need help and they do need your services, and this is exactly what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I think that a lot of the times, I know at times I felt, and this is something that I also normalize in the training, that I remember being buried in documentation. I remember saying, oh my gosh, I have 70 to 80% of my time, I feel like I'm documenting. Like, I didn't go to my master's program for this. This is not why I went into the field. I remember that. I remember saying, like, I'm not even making a difference because I'm so busy documenting. But, once you step out of that, once you step out of that mindset and that like crisis mode, right, that you're in when you're buried in documentation, you really value that, how important documentation is. And now that I'm currently studying for my ACSW and just going over just a lot of things, it's so important because documentation is everything. If you didn't document it, it didn't happen. And I really emphasize that in the training in terms of, I know it, trust me, it's normal, it's validated, your emotions are validated when you're start to question your own work because of how you're consumed with this documentation. But I think that a lot of it is our own insecurities in the work that we're doing in terms of, like, am I even documenting correctly? Am I even doing this correctly? And I think a lot of that was just this lack of organization, of having control of it, I think was really what played into that. And so I think once you master and when you develop the skill set to do proper documentation, proper care plans and treatment plans and assessments, I think that's when you start getting into your own groove and getting really comfortable, where it all kind of flows together and you start seeing the importance of it. So that's hopefully what I hope to give to the professionals taking the training, to kind of just say, like, step back a little bit. I know a lot of time is being spent on documentation, but this is why, and this is why it's so important. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
For sure. So we have a couple minutes left. I just wanted to quickly go through, what we're going to be covering in the essentials for the future therapist. So one, like I said, it's going to be a 5-course series meant to really increase your confidence, just make you feel like you have the tools that you need and the support that you need, which is equally important. So after each module, every week, Leslie and I are going to be in the private Facebook group reviewing the module for that week, and then also answering your questions, doing some conversation, and just making sure that you really, really understand what's going on. And then also, too, there will be other future therapists just like you who are in the group and are able to also offer their support and the information. And so I'm really excited that the collective knowledge that we're going to
Yes.
have in this group, I'm just so, so excited for this to start. Like, I can't even.
Yes. I'm most excited for these little breakout group sessions in the group, because I feel like that first I do better with human interaction. So I do just better instead of just talking to myself. I do so much better, you know, with that collaboration and just I it's so important, just that community support. And I think that we'll be able to clarify a lot of what, you know, the training's one thing, but I think this is where, you know, I expect tons of questions and I'm so excited to answer them and just clarify certain things. And but yeah, I'm really, really excited for that, because
Yeah.
again, this is all based on my experience, your experience. And so I'm just so excited to learn from other social workers. Like, hey, I actually used this book, or I actually used this resource. Oh my goodness, great. This is so amazing.
Yes, which is so powerful because you and I know that even one tool or one strategy, one intervention can massively impact a client and change their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And it can
Exactly.
change their outcome. And so, even just getting one little nugget of information can have such a huge impact. And we have so many nuggets in this in this
Mm-hmm.
course. So we're gonna do be covering treatment planning, therapy styles, and documentation. So the treatment planning is going to be how to do the assessments, how to do the care plan, the
Mm-hmm.
therapy styles and documentation. Do you want to talk, just briefly mention the styles that we're going to cover?
Um, what we so personally, so this is one of the things that I learned in my postgraduate, was that we all develop our own style in therapy. So I feel that a lot of individuals feel pressured to fit in a certain box, which is not the case. Like, once you're in the field, you'll learn that we all have our own style. A lot of people are very strength based. You know, there's social workers out there. I believe you are, right, Catherine? Very strength
Yes.
based oriented. Yeah.
Mhm.
And individuals are, you know, motivational interviewing is their thing. And so it's such a collection of things. And remember that we're going to develop our own skill set, our own style. And my personal go-to is DBT. You know, cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy are my go-to. That is my strength. And so some individuals don't really feel comfortable or don't feel like they're ready to do it. And so that's one thing that I'm going to speak to. We're going to talk about all the different um, I guess the majority of the therapeutic styles and how you can apply them in in treatment. And so it's really learning that to take from different therapeutic styles and just find which one fits you, find which one you're comfortable with, and which one that you feel you're making more of a difference in session because you're comfortable, you know, and the confidence and competence of it is going to really show in the field. And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in that training. And then along with that, it's how is that going to look in documentation? Because you can do these amazing things in session and then the patient leaves and you're like, oh, how am I supposed to document that? Right? We just
I've
had
been
this
there.
powerful we just had this powerful session, and what did I do? You sit in front of the computer, you're like, what did I just do? And so those are the tools that, you know, we're going to be talking about. And so it's more so I want to kind of, if I can describe it in any way, I remember in my when I worked in community mental health, I would have my office and I would have fellow social workers and professionals in the clinic. They would come into my office because remember I worked in a clinic that really had really high turnaround, and every 3 months it was a new therapist or new case manager every 3 to 6 months. And so a lot of the times I always left my door open after patients, and some of them would come into the office and say, hey, I really need help with this documentation, or I had this session and I don't know what to write. Can you please help? And so I really cherish those moments, you know, being able to be there to support fellow clinicians. And so this training is really just that is exactly what I want this to be. I don't want that, because
Mhm.
I'm not here. We are both not here to teach you what you learned in your master's program. Not at all. This is more so you're in the field. You have already the tools that you need to be amazing social workers. You have the skills, but this is how you might apply them in the field. And so that's where that guidance, that support, that room and space for you to ask questions, make mistakes, and just have fellow social workers just help you along the way. That is what I want this training to be.
Definitely, definitely. And also, I'm excited. So, I saw the documentation handouts that you gave me, and I'm super excited to use them. I'm going to use them in my own work like today.
That's awesome.
To increase my own documents. And then also too, so the last three modules are going to be the cognitive model, which you're going to
Mm-hmm.
dive deep into, and I'm really
Mm-hmm.
excited to learn more about that. The vital skill sets, and last but not least, probably most important, termination.
Yes, which is probably the hardest, but yes,
Yes,
and the
yes.
most important.
Yes. So I'm really, really excited. And then of course, as a bonus to everyone who wants to join us in this course, you're going to get the therapy tools that Leslie and I use. You're going to get a lot of great resources. So we are combining all of our resources that we use, that we find helpful. We're not getting kickbacks from these resources. It's just kind of just telling you like this is what we have found to be helpful. You're also
Mm-hmm.
going to get the private group to connect with other future therapists and to learn from them. And also, we're going to be doing a total of 5 hours of live course walkthroughs with the Q&A. So this helps you be able to listen to the course first or later, whatever, we don't judge. Listen to the course and then hop in for the live sessions. We're going to review everything and make sure that you really, really understand it and just be there for support for you guys. So we're
Mm-hmm.
hoping that the group can be a support, a cheerleader, support when things aren't going good and motivation for you. So
Mm-hmm. I'm most excited about those little groups because I think that I just do so much better with that interaction, and I just cannot wait to just surround myself with that energy of other social workers and just being able to bounce ideas off each other, and just I'm most excited about that.
yes, yes, for sure. Me too. So if you want more information on the course, just slide up in the DMs at Social Workers Rise on Instagram. You can also send me an email, socialworkersrise@gmail.com. And I will be happy to send you a little email on more course information. So you have everything, the registration information, all of that fun stuff. I'm super excited to talk to you soon. And thank you so much, Leslie. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much again for having me back, and for really collaborating with me and making this possible, because I'm so excited and I'm so grateful. I wish I had this when I graduated from my master's program, and I'm just so excited.
Oh my
This is
gosh,
my
me too.
passion.
Yes. Thank you, Leslie. I'll be talking to you soon. And we're going to do some Instagram lives too. I'm excited for that this week.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye. Hey, it's Catherine here. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Workers Rise. I wanted to give you an announcement and just let you know what I have been up to and what I have planned coming up. I always want to be honest and transparent with you as much as I can. If you listen to my first episode, then you know that when I first started this podcast back in February, oh, how the world was such a different place. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But that's okay. And I'm glad that I took the leap. I'm glad that I committed and saw this through for basically every week. I think I might have missed a week or two, but for the most part, I'm really happy with how everything has been going. I have absolutely loved all of our guests that have been on the show. And, I didn't know what to do or how this was going to work or really anything, but I knew that there was a problem. I knew that the way the industry was and my experience, honestly, I didn't even know about the industry. I mean, I work in it, but it wasn't until I really took that leap of faith and dove into it and started really immersing myself in the different conversations going on and talking to other social workers that I was validated in my experience, that my experience of burnout and crying over the dishes because I was so overwhelmed and so stressed out, that it's pretty common. And I wasn't shocked to hear that, because you're warned in grad school saying, oh, well, it's a really hard thing and we don't get into it for the money and all of these things. Well, now I have bills to pay and I need to have a job for the money. And I also need to have a job that fulfills me and that helps me accomplish what I'm put on here on this earth to do. I'm put on this earth to help other people. And social work allows me to do that. And I don't want to lose that spark that you have when you're in grad school and you're graduating and you're so excited. You're going to go out and save the world one person at a time or one system at a time, whatever it is. Don't ever lose that passion. Don't ever lose that. And often I hear that social workers are jaded and they are burnt out and they're miserable. And I hate that. That really breaks my heart, because I know that we all got into this field because we are passionate about helping other people. We want to make a difference. We have a sense of resilience about us. We have been through some stuff, you guys. I know that if you're listening to this, you have seen the ugliness of the real world, and it can be a cold, dark place. And we have got into this field because we want to help other people through that experience. That's why we're here. So this podcast was just a small step in my journey towards helping other social workers. And in this process, over the past few months, I have been stretched and uncomfortable and learning and growing and talking and all of these things. And I'm just so, so grateful to be here, to have you listening right now. And I'm really just excited to be contributing to the social work industry in my own way. And I've realized that given my experiences and my areas of expertise, the way that I can be most efficient is really helping the new and incoming social workers who are now entering this field. I don't want anyone else to be burnt out. I want to be able to help. Of course, I want to help everybody, but that's just not realistic. So I'm starting with what I can do. And I'm really going to focus in on the essentials for future therapists, that 5-course series that we have been talking about. So I am really, really excited that I am given this opportunity. Well, I wasn't given it. I created this opportunity for myself to help other people and to really live out my passion and my mission of helping social workers, because I love, love, love social workers so much. So I'm not, and I want to just let you know, I'm not so naive as to believe that social work is never going to be hard, because it is. And I'm not so naive to think that there will never be any personal struggles with the people that I help or that social workers rise touches, because there will be. But what I really hope to create is a community that other social workers don't feel like they're alone, that we're less burnt out, that we're more empowered to advocate for ourselves. And when we do that, when we really harness our own personal power, then we are going to be so, so much more effective for our clients, because when we're burnt out, we are of no service to anybody. If anything, we can harm our clients more by missing the signs, by missing the cues. We just turn into part of the system that they have been through and that has failed them. And so I'm really, really excited to be able to embark on this journey and to help other people and to have you along with me. So I wanted to let you know, as a listener of this podcast, I feel like you deserve to know that I'm choosing to record probably 2 more episodes. It's June right now, so there'll be 1 more in June and then 1 more in the beginning of July. And after that, I am going to take a break from the podcast so I can really, really focus all of my attention and efforts on the Essentials for Future Therapists course, because it's a pre-recorded course, so you can do it at your own time, but we want to make sure that all of your questions are answered, that you have our full attention, that we are able to expand on the information in the pre-recorded course in the live sessions. So within the private community, we'll be doing weekly live sessions with myself and Leslie, just to make sure that you have all of your questions answered, you have all the tools that you need, and just to give that support and guidance to you. So I want to be fully present for you and for that group. So also with that, I'm going to be planning for a season 2 of Social Workers Rise. There's going to be a brand new season. It's going to be better than ever. This season was amazing, and I'm so, so grateful to every single guest. So I'll be planning the season for probably around the fall time, like end of summer to start. So if you feel like there's a topic that I need to cover that's really important, or if you want to be a guest on the show, I am taking signups right now. If you want to just share your experiences and contribute to this amazing community that we are building, I am all ears. And I welcome you with open arms. Well, not open arms because of COVID, but you know what I mean. So shoot me a DM if you want to be on the VIP list for the Essentials for Future Therapists, or if you even want to be a guest on the season 2 of Social Workers Rise. Until then, I will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Social Workers Rise. If you loved it, write a review and give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. This just helps other people just like you find us and join our community. Also, I would love to connect with you on Instagram. You can find me at Social Workers Rise. I can't wait to see you next week. Bye.